Well, good evening. Thank you so much for being with us. I am Amy Carter. I'm the County Superintendent of Schools here at SCO. Really appreciate your interest in service to children and community by being here at this event. If there's anyone who needs translation, we have translation available. So, right over there in the corner. All right, without much ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Larson. She's going to facilitate our session. I think increasingly across California, we see fewer and fewer people choosing to serve their community in these roles, but they are absolutely critical. The decisions that you're able to make as a board member, as a trustee, to drive conversations towards what is in the best interest of children and away from polarization and adult needs is one of the most incredible commitments that you can offer to your community and to the children who play in your streets and in your neighborhoods and you see walking to school every day. So it's meaningful to me, and it's meaningful to all our members here on the panel, and appreciate you even contemplating service in this regard. If there's questions that you have, burning issues, nothing's off the table, you got the best experts here. So I'll turn the time over now to Dr. Larson.
Thanks. All right, is this working at all? Can you hear okay? It's a small room. All right, well, thank you again for being here today. Kind of in the same tone as Dr. Carter, I just really appreciate that you're here in this room. It just shows that you are committed to making sure that our students have the best of everything, that they have what they need, and that their voices are being brought into the room. I think one of the things I most appreciate about our boards of trustees is their commitment to ensuring that all the voices in our communities are brought to education. I think that the work is so critical in building trust between the community and the schools. I think it is so important in setting the tone for how the day-to-day operations of a school district is, and that really sets the tone for what students walk into every single day. As board members, you're present and you're visible in a different way than staff members can be, and so that partnership I just think is so critical, and I appreciate you stepping up and even considering the idea of leading and being a member of your community in that way. So thank you. I've seen such tremendous change because of the power and the partnership of board members, and so I'm excited for this and to learn from our experts. We have an amazing panel today, and I'm excited for you to hear a little bit about what their experience has been like, and then at the end, we'll have an opportunity for some open questions and answers. So as your moderator today, we're going to go through this session in three sections. The first being a panel where we're going to be asking questions, and there will be 2 to 4 of each of these panel members responding to each one of those questions. And then there's going to be an opportunity for us to hear a little bit from some experts about the timelines and the process for actually running for a position. And then at the end, we'll take a break and come back in and ask some questions. And as Dr. Carter said, nothing's off the table. This is just an opportunity from you to learn from the pros and hear a little bit more about what it might be like if you decide to take this next big step. It is a big commitment. We want to make sure you go into it with all the information you possibly can. So with that, our very first, we've missed our slides. Here we are. My name is Dr. Jennifer Larson. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of School Programs here at Sonoma County Office of Education. So today, we're actually going to introduce our panelists with our first questions. For this first question, all 4 of our members are going to answer. And then after that, we'll go ahead and move through each question, and I'll let the panel know who's going to be answering that and responding, and in what order, and hopefully you guys can just pass those microphones back and forth. If you need any support, please just let me know. All right, so first up, we're going to go ahead and ask, why did you first want to serve on the school board? And Janine, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your start.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, it's on. Hi, I'm Jeannie Bassett-Fernandez, a longtime trustee with the West Sonoma County Union High School District, to the tune of 23 years. I began this journey in 1997. I had left a job where I was commuting to Suisun City, and it was becoming really difficult with my kids being teenagers to not have somebody at home. And they actually did a intervention with me, my two teenagers, and said that they wanted mom home. My husband was a pilot, and so he wasn't always home. And so they couldn't participate in sports or school plays or have friends over or go to friends' houses because I didn't get home until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And they were tired of taking care of themselves and wanted to be able to do other things. So I retired from that job. And after a very short period of time, I became a bored housewife. I wasn't really meant to be a stay-at-home mom, really. And but I was available for them. But then my daughter was in the band at Anley High School, and I was on the band board because I needed to be involved, right? And shortly after I began that journey, the band director came to me and said, "There's going to be a seat open on the school board, and I think you need to run for it." And I said, "Me?" I'm serious. I was like, "What?" He goes, "Just go check it out." And I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because we need somebody like you that has the gumption to, help run this school district." And I went, "Wow, okay, I didn't know that I had that gumption." And so I went and checked it out. I actually applied for the position. Somebody else was chosen, but then I said, "I kind of like this." And I went to every single board meeting after that. And 8 months later, another seat opened, and I was chosen. But before that happened, they actually asked me to run a parcel tax campaign. Again, never done anything like that in my life, and we were very successful with that. So I think that was one of the reasons why they thought I might be a good partner for them on the board, because I had helped them get this parcel tax passed. So that's what my first opportunity looked like with the school board. And then I had to run my first campaign shortly after that. But that's a little bit about me.
All right, and Trustee Guzman.
Good evening. So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I started April of last year, and I was appointed. And so in my just over 1 year period, it's been a crash course, to say the least. And so what's interesting is the questions that have kind of been directed to me tonight. A lot of them I'm going to be sharing some of the challenges with the role, but I do want to just put out that on the net, it's a very much a net positive, and I'm glad I've taken on this role. But yes, there are some challenges I'll be sharing. In terms of the motivation, it's really my kids. Let's see, going back about 6 years, I moved back to Sonoma Valley, which is my hometown, and so I had one. It was a year and a half. It was just my son, and then 2 years later came my daughter, and so they were just getting started with their journeys, and I wasn't thrilled about what I was seeing with my local board. Just kind of on the periphery, I was keeping tabs, and I just felt I needed to step up and at least try to ensure that what I wanted to see for my kids, I could at least try to provide that in some way, and not let things just kind of proceed to the point where I'd have to look elsewhere, because I have a lot of pride in my hometown and my home district, and I wanted my kids to have that same experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Harding. I'm the school board president in Twin Hills in Sebastopol. I've been on the board about 2.5 years. I never envisioned that I would be on a school board. I came to this position after a 40-year career in education. I've been principal at Windsor High School, assistant superintendent in Windsor, superintendent in Healdsburg, and then superintendent in the South Bay in Mountain View, Los Altos. So I retired to Sebastopol. I never really saw a school board position, having worked with school boards for many years, and always felt lucky that I had great school boards. But there was a vacancy in our local community, and someone kind of tapped me on the shoulder, and I interviewed with the board and thought, this is a great kind of trial and error to see how it fits. and it's just been a great experience. I love the role. I stay involved. It's an opportunity for me to give back to my community. I work with fellow trustees as a team, and that's hopefully a theme that you will hear throughout tonight, is you are not an individual. You are an individual, but you don't work as an individual. You work as a team of 6 people, your board and your superintendent, or 8 people if you're on a larger board. But I love that role. I can keep and stay involved. As a retiree, it's good for my brain. I feel like, I have to lead a meeting once a month, and that's keeps me a little fresher. And the role as I go around the schools and talk to teachers and see students and try to do the right thing, the objective is something that's motivating for me. It's to try to give to students the best quality education with the resources you have. It's that simple. There's no shareholders, there's no private business, the things that you have to face. It's really straightforward, and I love that role. So it's been a great 2.5 years, and I'm hoping to continue.
Thank you, Jeff. My name is Peter Costas. Currently, I'm the president of the Sonoma County Board of Education. How did I get here? So, in 2014, I retired as an assistant superintendent for the Mendocino County Office of Education. And 2 years earlier, we had moved from, we lived near Hoppin, we moved to Petaluma. So I retired. This is probably the end of July and August, and I'm Freedom Brothers, shorts, sandals, in the nursery, and I get my phone rings, and it's Mickey Porter, who was a deputy superintendent for SCO here. And, hi, Mickey, how you doing? I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Peter? I'm thinking, why is she calling me? We need you to run for school board. There's a vacancy down in Petaluma area too, Petaluma area. Well, Mickey, I was thinking about doing that in a couple of years. I just retired 2 months ago. Yeah, well, we need you to run now. Well, okay. What does that mean now? Well, it's noon, right? Well, the filing closes at 5 o'clock. I'm in Petaluma, and we got to go up to the county. Well, I got to go talk to my wife. Anyway, so I filed and I ran. I won, obviously. This is the end of my 3rd term. I'm not going to run again. But the reason I wanted to be on the county board in SCO was I knew a lot about how county office education run. And also it helped connect me with the community because we were up in Mendocino County for all those years. And one of the things we do as a county board, we're the governing board for the alternative ed program. The school and juvenile hall, the camp, also program for expelled probation deferred students. And one thing I learned for many years working at the COE, you never give up on kids, never. And I wanted to help and contribute and continue that philosophy. So that's what I'm doing.
Right. We're actually going to get into our questions now, and we're going to come down to our tail end at the next section. All right. Our next question is, what compensation does your district offer trustees? And we're going to have Trustee Bassett Fernandez and Trustee Harding respond to this question.
Sure, I can start. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Easy question. Our compensation is 0. We're hoping to get it dinner for board meetings, but we haven't been able to negotiate that yet. So the simple answer. I've worked with other boards where there has been compensation, and it really depends. And each individual board has a board policy about it. It's really historical. Oftentimes depends on the size of the district. Smaller districts tend to have less pay compensation requirements.
So, our district is a little bit different. We don't have compensation per se, but the district does pay for my medical benefits. They even pay for my Medicare premium, which is really nice because I'm old enough to be on Medicare. What it is the district gives $10,000 per trustee towards however you want to spend that. They have great plans, vision, dental, and medical. and then again, like I said, the Medicare. It used to be, in the day, way back when I first started, we had 100% coverage for trustees and their families, which was like, wow. And then over the years, it's, dropped down to the $10,000 a year. So my husband had to find his own medical plan. But it is a very nice option, and because the plans are very healthy plans. Let me tell you, I get some very good care and some very good benefits for that. But that's what we get.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is the time commitment and how is that time spent? And again, we're going to start with you now, Trustee Bassett-Fernandez, and then pass it on to Trustee Guzman. Sure.
Your time commitment can be as little or as much as you like. You can give the bare bones, let's just go to your board meetings and after you've spent some time reviewing your board packet, and that can be all you do. I would say that that's not enough, but that's what some people do. Again, you can be as involved as you like. I tend to try to go to as many activities as I can. We do get passes for all of our sports games, and we do get passes for our band and choir performances, plays, and that kind of stuff, which is, again, that's a nice little perk for us. It's to hopefully encourage us to attend, right, and be present. But I also visit the schools every now and again, meet with teachers, meet with staff. I try to, this year I'm the board president, so I feel one of my jobs is to kind of get the lay of the land and what are people thinking and feeling. So I reach out to certain people and set up meetings and meet with them and just, how are you doing? What do you need? How are you feeling? I did it a little bit later this year because we were in the middle of negotiations and I didn't want to go to meet with all of these people and all I get told was, we want money. And I knew that's what was going to happen. And I just felt that was not a useful way to spend my time or theirs. And so I waited till negotiations were over, and then once they were over, then I met towards the end of the school year. I still have a couple of administrators to meet with. But that has been very helpful because I asked for feedback. And I asked for feedback with regards to our superintendent. How do you feel? What do you think? And I get some good feedback, and I'm not afraid to take and share that with the superintendent because I think I don't know what other people are thinking and feeling unless I ask, and they usually aren't going to tell me unless I ask. Although sometimes they do tell me. But I really believe that participating in California School Boards Association has been very, very important for me. They offer a lot of different meetings. Have gotten my what's it called? I can't even think. There's a set of courses that you can take. The school district paid for me to do that. I finished those courses. I actually finished them during COVID, so it was all online, which actually I like because then I didn't have to come here, which was very helpful. The other thing that our district has is the president and the vice president attend agenda setting. And if the president or the vice president, either one can't be there, we try to invite someone else. That way, members of the board have a better idea of what's coming down the pike. And we get some input into what's going into the agenda. We started that many, many years ago because a lot of the board members really felt like they were so out of touch with what's really was gonna all of a sudden appear on their desk with an agenda. And it's a nice touch. I don't know if a lot of other districts do that, but we do, and I do appreciate that. I also right now spend a lot of time, I communicate with the superintendent probably 2 or 3 days a week. Somebody asked me not too long ago how many hours a week do I spend doing school board stuff, and right now it's between about 5 and 10 hours a week, which is actually a lot for a volunteer kind of a job. I would say I'm probably different than a lot of people. If you asked me to be in this organization, I'm going to be involved. That's just kind of who I am. That's how I was raised. So again, it can be what you make of it. You can spend all the time you want, or you can just go to board meetings, and I would encourage you to be a little more active.
Thank you.
So, yeah, ditto on that last statement. It really is however much you want to invest. There is no minimum or maximum. I kind of ballparked it at around a minimum of 12 hours a month. The kind of typical month would be a regular meeting on a Thursday night for us, and the Friday prior we'll receive our board packet, which is about yay thick, and so I spend the weekend reading through that, and then I'll usually on Mondays I'll meet one-on-one with the superintendent and go over my questions, and then spend the next couple nights just continuing to review so that I'm prepared for the discussions on Thursday. So typical is just one regular meeting per month, but then there are some months like June where we have two to first review and then adopt the budget and the LCAP and have fun learning about the LCAP.
Those acronyms.
You don't need to know about it yet. So I just had a regular meeting last Thursday evening, and then the next afternoon I got my packet for this Thursday evening. So it's a unique month, but otherwise most months it's one, and then we'll sometimes have a study session that's about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, that's focused on one particular topic. It could be the budget, it could be LCAP, a few others. And then aside from that, it really is however much you want to be involved in going to the campuses and other events. May is particularly busy with all the graduations and award ceremonies. July is dead. You know, that we have a break. There are 0 meetings in July, and so that's really nice to refresh. But yeah, there are some times when it does really pick up. In our district, we had a lot of challenges in this past year where our superintendent resigned and we were going through school consolidation. And then, going through the process of hiring a new superintendent, it was a lot of extra efforts. So my record in a 4-day period with one evening of a regular meeting and then a weekend full of interviews was it was 24 hours in those 4 days, plus all the prep time. But that was an absolute outlier. 12-ish hours on a normal month.
Are they productive hours?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to our next question, and this is going to be Trustee Harding and Trustee Costas. What is the most rewarding part of being a trustee?
Well, I have a core belief that the school board and superintendent, the leadership team, has a tremendous impact on the culture of the whole organization. I've seen it time and time again. I know the impact is dramatic. A highly functioning board and superintendent, when things are coming along, everybody feels it. And when things aren't coming along, they feel that too. So this is what's rewarding to me, is to know that I have a potential impact on, we're a small district, 1,000 students, right? That's 1,000 students and parents and teachers and principals, and so there's a lot of people in our community that are impacted by the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of the 5 of us along with the superintendent. So it's a challenge, and I appreciate the challenge. I love the work. And when it's humming along and everyone's on the same page, it's magic. So that's what you seek. It's what I seek, and it's a lot of work to get to that place because there are a lot of obstacles. It requires a lot of planning, going slowly sometimes to go fast, and I believe that our community appreciates what we do. I believe that's the case. We just passed the facility bond on the 2nd of June, and that is a manifestation of that belief in what we do. We have confidence and trust the community does in what we do. So I I like doing that. And I like being part of a team with 5 other people. We're all different, we all come with different backgrounds, and can we kind of convey that we are in good hands, your children are in good hands, and we do the best we can. So I get a lot of satisfaction from that.
Well, so I'm on the county board, and it's different from a district board. There are quite a few things that I get a lot of satisfaction out of. One is, we've been very fortunate to have a pretty stable board over 12 years, and 2 superintendents, Dr. Harrington and Dr. Carter. And we've been a pretty cohesive team, the board and the superintendent. And with that, we've been able to support the superintendent in delivering on their goals and their vision and their mission. And being on the county board, I hope that we've had some kind of impact on the safety and the welfare and the health of students in this county. Academically, we went through the whole thing with the fires, COVID, and that's rewarding in a way. And we are so under the radar, I think most people don't even know we even exist in county board. Most parents in this county, their kids go to district schools. But that feels rewarding to me. Another thing that feels rewarding being on the county board is one of our goals is to just be a liaison with district boards. I'll go to cafes and restaurants and nonprofits, fundraisers, and help people make connections where they can maybe come and speak to the county board, or somebody has some plan and, well, I want you to talk to this person. So that's really rewarding to me too. And the other thing that's rewarding is, well, we've been hearing a lot of appeal hearings where we kind of serve as an appellate court. Parents can appeal an expulsion. They can appeal an inter-district transfer that's been denied. And I think we all come away from that thinking whatever decision we made, we did the best. You know, if it was for the district or if it was for the family, just walking away feeling, well, we saw the merits of the case and we did the best we could with our decision. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to pass it back to Trustee Guzman, and he's going to tell us a little bit about some of the challenges of being a trustee.
So the first challenge is finding that balance with your personal work and life. So, you know, I had to leave work a little bit earlier today to attend, and it adds up, and you gotta make up those hours somehow, some way. So that's kind of a more immediate one. But one of the bigger ones for me is there's a real emotional burden with knowing that the community was really looking to you, and you feel it, and you want to do right by those folks. You want to do right by the parents. You want to do right by the teachers and the staff and the kids, first and foremost. And it can be hard at times. Like when we went through the school consolidation, that was probably the most unpleasant thing I've ever had to do. Is vote to close a school, and so yeah, there is a real emotional burden that you feel at times. But then on the flip side, there's a lot rewarding to that as well. So being able to make those connections, that same kind of emotional connection, turn it around, it is really rewarding. And I've been able to not only reconnect with folks that I grew up with, who are now parents as well, but then also make new connections with, you know, my kids' new peers. So that's something that has really pushed me, you know, out of my little shell, you know, coming out of the pandemic. Like a lot of folks, I imagine, we're pretty antisocial, especially with having little ones that, like, no, stay away. So it really pushed me out again into the community, and for that, I'm really grateful.
Thank you. All right, Trustee Bassett Fernandez.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, there's some, it has a lag time, I noticed. This can be be a little bit difficult to answer when it comes to challenges. You can imagine over 23 years I've had my share. And I've had some great moments too, don't get me wrong. But overall, a lot of times it depends on the climate in your school district, staff morale, whether you're having financial issues within a district. For example, whether or not you have to close a school, or change a program, or start a program, end a program. All of those things come with some baggage, and usually in the form of negative responses from other human beings. We actually had to close a school. You can imagine, to this day, I'm still the bane of some people's existence. They just don't like me. You have to have some thick skin, folks. I'm telling you, you really do. You're going to be in tears. I had plenty of those too. I actually was literally cornered in the grocery store, and I had to find my way out of the grocery store without buying any groceries, and then get to my car, and then I find that my car has been egged. There's somebody backed up behind me, and then they're sitting there screaming at me. Finally, I got out, took pictures, and called the police, and got pictures of the license plate of the person, because I was terrifically threatened, and I was actually a little scared. I was called every name in the book, and this was at nighttime at the grocery store. It was actually after a board meeting. I learned never again to go to the grocery store after a board meeting. I actually also started having my sister take me to board meetings, because people knew what my car was. They didn't know her car. And I was really afraid that they might flatten my tires, or I don't know what. It was really a difficult time. We're beyond that, thank heavens. But just know that some of these things can be a little alarming. Find the one person on that school board that you can connect with, that you have somebody you can pick up the phone and vent to, or have a good relationship with the superintendent that you can have that conversation, because sometimes you really need to be able to express how upset you can be. I also say that as president, my responsibility is to answer every email that comes to the trustees. We tell our trustees that's the board president's responsibility. You can say, hey, thank you so much for your email, but I work with the superintendent and we craft a specific email to that person to try to answer as best we can and at least be as polite as we can, because usually if I get emails, they're not nice emails, they're negative. I've had a few really good ones throughout my career, but the superintendent and I have a great thing. He has a Google Docs and he just adds stuff to it, and then I send them out. Sometimes they're the same topic. Usually it's over classes we're going to cancel, programs we're going to cancel, and parents and or teachers get very upset about those things. I understand. But financial things are as they are, and you have to do what you have to do for the district. So it can be hard also having a dysfunctional school board. I've had a few in my days where either I was the pariah or somebody else was, but those can be really hard. All I can say is do your absolute level best to do, like Jeff said, work as a collective team, because team is everybody working together, including the superintendent. And it's no fun when you've got somebody sitting over here who you have to turn your back to because you can't look at them. Or I had an instance where I was kind of the outcast and I was put at the very end of the table. And when I couldn't hear, I would turn the table sideways, and then I got told I couldn't do that. And of course, you're not going to put this baby in a corner. So I said, sorry, but I'm turning the table because I can't see or hear you. And it was what they wanted to have happen. But, and you have to work through those difficult times, and they don't last forever. And sometimes we had a superintendent who actually pitted board members against each other at one point in time, which was really hard. That superintendent left, and then all of a sudden, one of my dearest friends is somebody who we both were like this because somebody put us there. Now we talk every day. And she's not on the board anymore, but she's just one of my dearest friends, which is really amazing how that can turn around. So just always be aware of those things and know that if you're having a difficult time, tomorrow's a better day. And obviously, it must have been okay enough because I kept coming back, so here I am.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna start this next one with trustee Harding. What was something about being a trustee that you did not anticipate?
I'm going to defer to.
Oh, okay, we're gonna defer to trustee Hoskins.
Well, I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but one of our duties as the County Board of Education is we hear appeal hearings. And in my 12 years, maybe an average of 7 or 8 a year. I think this year we've heard over 40. We got 5 scheduled for tomorrow night. It's not that they're time consuming, it's very emotional. You know, the parents want to do what's best for their kids. There's crime. We listen to the parents. We hear the district. We look at the district's policy. We look at our policy. We look at the merits of the case. We don't want to undermine the district's board who denied the parents. And we want to support the parent, but sometimes we can't support the parent, you know, because the district did their due diligence. It's fair. It's hard, you know, it really is hard. And most of the time, we come away with 5-0 or 4-1 decision, so we feel good about that. But we feel good about our decision, but it's still really hard, you know. It's really hard to do. And having 8 or 9 a year interspersed over the year was one thing, but this year we have a lot. Like I said, we got 5 tomorrow night. I'm sure there's going to be, you know, a lot of heart in the parents. Yeah, so we just do the best we can do.
When you say appeal, what?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, inter-district transfer appeals. So let's say you are living in Petaluma, right? And you want your child to go to school in Cotati Park, right? So Petaluma City Schools says, okay, you can go. But Cotati Park says, no, you can't come to our district because we have too many students or whatever, right? So the parent has a right to appeal that decision to the county board. And we've heard, I'll say expulsion appeals. I think in my 12 years, I've only heard of maybe 2 expulsion appeals. And we also can hear charter school appeals where if a district turns down a charter school's application, they can appeal to us. We haven't heard any of those.
Keep in mind that we're going to do some Q&A at the end, so do write down all of your questions, and then if we have time at the end, we'll definitely come around and get some more detailed information for you. All right, Trustee Guzman, did you want to?
No, I'm going to just add a little bit to that question.
Okay,
if I
go
could,
for it.
very briefly. Some board members, after they win an election, they think they're going to come in and fix everything. They've been watching and they know how this works. You have to remember that as an individual, you don't have any authority. You only have authority as a group of 5 or 7. And sometimes it's more complicated than you thought. Sometimes what appeared to be a simple problem is really not a simple problem. And I think that trips up many new board members. Oftentimes people, the advice that I would give to new trustees is spend a year and figure out how things work. Don't make yourself, do a lot of watching, ask a lot of questions. Don't think you understand how everything works. It's a complicated array of rules and laws and dynamics and people, and you can't figure it out. It's going to take you a year to figure out the lay of the land. So that's having seen it enough times.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Anything to add, Trustee Guzman?
Kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, studying for those regular meetings, the amount of prep time. I really was not aware of just how much falls under the umbrella of the district's business. And so we'll have an agenda of, 20 items on the agenda, and I need to be knowledgeable on each and every one of those items, at least knowledgeable enough to, be able to vote on it. And so yeah, there's quite a bit of homework you got to do, and you do have your superintendent that you can reach out to with questions. You can reach out to your fellow trustees. I also will chat occasionally with former trustees from my district. And online searches help as well. But yeah, I think it was last Saturday, I just kind of said bye to my family and I was like, I gotta take the whole day, I'm sorry. We got a huge agenda and I really gotta lock into this. So yeah, there's quite a bit of homework.
All right. I'm noticing that we are running short on time, and we have a few more questions, and I want to make sure we do have time for Q&A at the end. So as we go through these next ones, if we could just do a minute each, that would be great, just to keep our time down. All right, so Trustee Harding, what is the relationship like between the superintendent and the board of trustees?
It's a really key question. The relationship should be based on trust. The reality is they have their job, you have your job. They have their lane, you have your lane. And when boards and superintendents get in trouble, it's because they don't know where that line is. It's board members start doing the superintendent's job. Or vice versa. That's the most important thing, is to have that relationship. Keep in mind, as a board member, all the information, or much of the information you get, is going to come from your superintendent. So you really want to have a close, trusting relationship with that person. I'll leave it at that.
Trustee Costas, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, as a county board, I think in the state of California, all but, I think, 5 county superintendents are elected. So the county board's elected, the county superintendent, school's elected official, so a district will hire the superintendent and evaluate the superintendent. We don't hire the superintendent, the voters evaluate the superintendent. So with that, what's been important with the 2 superintendents that we worked with, Dr. Harrington and Dr. Carter, is we have a very close working relationships that we can support each other in moving our goals and initiatives forward. So I think it's really critical.
Thank you. All right, Trustee Bassett Fernandez, what resources and professional development are available for new trustees?
Okay, well, I talked about CSBA, California School Boards Association, earlier. They have a lot of different events and activities if your school district is involved with them. We also have a local CSBA PACER, which stands for something, and I don't know what it means, but it doesn't matter. She's our CSBA guru. She's who you can go to locally to assist you if you have any questions or whatever. And she sends us regular updates, and she also does, she hosts update Zoom meetings, and we'll talk about a specific topic. So I really encourage folks to be involved in that. Every year also there's a conference that CSBA holds. It's either in Sacramento or San Francisco or San Diego. This last year was in Sacramento, so we took the advantage and went to it. It was great, a lot of great sessions, a lot of networking with other trustees from all across California, which was really helpful. Additionally, SCO offers many free opportunities right here in this room, learning about the Brown Act, budgeting, new trustee orientations, along with a biannual dinner that they provide graciously for all trustees to basically honor us, which is really nice. Any chance you get to attend any of those events or classes or trainings, you need to go. It's the only way you're really going to learn about the Brown Act, is to have some lawyer tell you about it. You can try to read about it, but it's not the same. They're going to give you specific information with regards to being a trustee and the Brown Act. Very important. I also think that the CSBA governance training is really, really helpful. It does cost money, it costs the districts money, but you really do learn a lot. And you, again, learn about all these specific things, budgeting, Brown Act. They go through the gambit of everything that it takes to be a trustee. So I think, again, it's really important.
All right, anything to add, Trustee Harding?
Only that your superintendent is a great resource. If you have a good relationship and they're effective, you can ask them. They'll help you.
All right, Trustee Guzman, what was your first campaign like?
I don't know, I was appointed.
Yeah,
Let's
easy
find out.
answer. All right.
So I'm about to find out.
All right, Trustee Bassett Fernandez, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was appointed originally as well, but the first real election I did, one of the most important things that I learned was getting yourself out there to the community so that people know who you are. You do need to buy signs, people. If you don't buy signs, the chances are somebody's just not going to recognize your name. And that was important. The reason I go by Bassett Fernandez, I grew up in Sebastopol. People knew who Jeannie Bassett was. They didn't know who Jeannie Fernandez was. So that made a big difference. It made my signs more expensive because it was a long name, but it was okay. Do flyers, walking campaigns, whatever you can do. Get the list of voters in your specific area. Very helpful because you can send text, you can do texting, you can call, you can send mail to them. It was all very helpful. I had a great team that helped me. That is really important. If you are going to have to run a campaign because you have somebody running against you, you've got to have a team of people that can help you. You can't do it yourself. Really, you can't. It's almost impossible. Especially you have other parts of your life you have to live. So finding somebody who can be your treasurer, finding somebody who can help you do mailers, finding somebody who can help you put a web page together, finding somebody who can do your copy for you, whatever. Find that group of people. I will tell you, for me, it's one of the worst ways to have to spend your parents and your friends and your family's money is to run for a school board seat. To me, it's just like, you've got to be kidding. But if you really want to be on that particular school board and somebody's running against you, don't just think you don't have to do anything, because chances are you won't win.
All right, good advice. And let's go back to Trustee Guzman. What are your most effective strategies for communicating with voters?
So I'm in a unique position where my kids are really young still. So every morning I see parents at drop off, and and then my kids are in sports, and so I see other parents from other schools, and so I just start up conversations, and so I've been able to build these relationships, parent to parent, but also trustee to constituent, and so that's been really effective for me.
Thank you. Trustee Costas, is there anything you want to add to that? But also, our next question, which is the difference between a district and county board.
So for me, in terms of communicating with voters, I buy cups of coffee for people, invite them to a place we call Aqua's Cafe, get a cup of coffee, talk to people. But one thing in my area too down there, we have 9 school districts. So one of the things that I do is, one of our county office board goals is that we attend one school district, at least one school district meeting a year. Well, I go to 5 or 6 or 7 of them a year. So I communicate with district trustees, talk with the superintendent. I get invited to district schools and get to talk with the teachers, talk with parents and students, and going to fundraisers, going to nonprofit agency meetings, and, identifying myself as I'm a trustee for SCO, and people talk to me. Just get yourself out there.
All right.
And the other question, the difference?
The difference. So you talked a little bit about the unique parts about being a county board member. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I think I said earlier, first of all, I don't think most people know we even exist. Because their kids go to district schools. And again, we don't hire or evaluate the superintendent. We set the superintendent's salary. And we're the governing board for the alternative education program. And we hear these appeal hearings. But the one thing we do is, we try to, connect district trustees with the county office and activities that the county office is doing. Then you mentioned earlier, Gina, all the workshops that the county office provides.
Thank you so much. All right, that wraps up our panel, and now we're going to shift over to our two special guests. We've got Troy Kennedy and Will Stephenson, and they are going to give you all the ins and outs and the key facts and deadlines about the election cycle. All right. Microphone?
Everyone can hear me, I think. I can do it this way.
I can use the mic.
You can use my, okay.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Will from the Registrar of Voters Office. This is Troy. We are basically the two people plus our manager that handles candidate filing. So when people come in to run for office, you'll probably deal with one of us. Kamari is our manager. He's not here tonight, but I'll make sure I'm on the right slide. Yeah, there we go. His information's up there if you need him. That QR code and that link goes to the forms you'll need to complete to run to be on a school board. Troy, I believe, is going to cover a little more in depth what those are in a later slide. And then out on the sign-in table, we did provide a election timeline, and on the back it has, so you want to be a candidate, something like that. So on the next slide, we have some of our contact information. I'm trying to go quick so we can get Q&A. So, for questions on campaign finance forms, which is, your expenditure reports if you have a committee, any of that sort of thing, you can send in your questions to the ROV campaign at sonomacounty.org or call that number. That's Troy's direct line, which I know he loves, having that out there for everybody. We have a PO box we can send mail, and then probably heard, just in case you haven't, our office moved. We are no longer by the Board of Supervisors office. We're like a block to the east of here. So we're now over here, so we're not on the main campus anymore. And then of course our website has more information. Just to cover some key deadlines as it relates to the candidate season. July 13th is when the nomination period will open, so that's the first day that anyone can come in and file the paperwork to run for office, to be a school board member, trustee, maybe changes depending on the district, what the actual title is. That period will close on August 7th, and then if anyone has more questions, I can go into it later about what an extended period is, but we do have an extended nomination period until the 12th. Basically, if an incumbent didn't file, the seat goes into extension, but more nuances. And then for November, vote by mail begins on October 5th, and election day will be November 3rd this year. Those are just kind of like quick, relevant dates to running for office. I think from here, I'm going to give to Troy to go a little more in depth on some forms and things like that.
Okay, so again, we're in the business of helping candidates actually get qualified so that they can either get on the ballot or, and a lot of times for schools and special districts, get appointed. Some school districts, they have a hard time even getting enough board members. There's a lot of vacancies throughout the year. I also manage the incumbent roster, so I see a lot of turnover, so there's a lot of opportunities if you are interested in being a school board member, something to think about. But as far as what you actually have to do to get qualified, he mentioned during the nomination period between July 13th and August 7th, you want to come to our office and fill out forms in order to be qualified. So the actual forms you need to fill out are all available on our website, socovotes.com, and you can fill them out ahead of time to save yourself some time when you actually come in to file, but you don't have to. You can just show up at our office and we'll help you fill out the forms. Our job is to help you get qualified. So if you feeling a little bit overwhelmed about the whole thing, just come in, we'll help you. We'll figure it out. An important thing to mention is there is no filing fee for school districts. So you don't have to collect any signatures. There's no financial requirement to serve on a school board other than your time and whatever that takes you. The only possible thing that you would have to pay for is if you were doing some, spending your own money on fundraising for your campaign, or if you were to do a candidate statement and a voter guide. But just to get a quick rundown of the forms here. So the one I just mentioned, statement of qualifications, it's a 200-word statement or less that appears in the voter information guide. Generally, people on school boards with more competition would look at doing one of those. It's just a recitation of your qualifications and why you're telling voters why you feel like you're a good fit for this for that position. And there is a cost to that, and it's basically just, it matters how many registered voters are in your district will determine like how much that actually costs. We're hoping to get those prices soon. We're going to be sending them out to the school admins pretty soon here, and so you'll have a better idea how much that will cost. You can reach out maybe a week or so. We'll get those out. Ballot designation worksheet is another form you'll need to do, and it's 3 words or less that describes your primary occupation or vocation, and that goes underneath your name on the ballot. So that is just another way of letting voters know your background. And so if you were a teacher, you could write teacher, and you have to fill out a form and justify the use of your designation, and that's what that form is. Form 700s, if you've ever run on a school board before, you've done these. You have to do them annually. You have to do them when you assume office, when you leave office, and when you run as a candidate. So what this form is it's basically just divulging if you have any financial conflicts of interest in the district, if you own property in the district that you receive money for, if you have real estate in general, just anything that would be considered a conflict of interest, you're going to report on that form so that everyone's aware of it. So that's pretty much what that is. Campaign statements. So you have to file something with us at the time of qualifying, and even if you're not raising or spending money. So Form 470, these are all forms on our website, also on the FPPC's website. So I don't know if we mentioned, these are just outside the door, so you can grab one on the way out. So Form 470, you're just not raising or spending any money, you're gonna hand that to us and let us know. Of course, you can file a supplement form later if you do end up raising or spending money, but if you're like, no, I'm not raising any money. Form 470. Yeah, so I always suggest going ahead and doing a Form 501 and a Form 470 because that allows you to raise or spend up to $1,999. So basically, if you plan on raising or spending anything, you're going to be filing that form. So it's just, there's no consequence for filing and not doing fundraising. So if you think there's a possibility of that, go ahead and do the 501. And then Form 410 is establishing a committee. It's anything $2,000 or more raised or spent. And that goes to the Secretary of State's office, and then our office just gets a copy. And that's when you're going to have more filing requirements. You're going to have to submit itemized forms of everything that you've raised and spent over a semi-annual period. And that's going to be, you're going to have those requirements until you terminate the committee. And you have to pay $50 annually to keep it open. So something to think about when you are reaching that threshold. As you're going to have a lot more requirements. It's going to be, you're probably going to want to get a treasurer. And so that's about it for campaign forms. Code of Fair Campaign Practices we have on here is just an optional form. It's just basically saying that you're running a clean and fair campaign. You can do that in person. And the last form there was the Declaration of Candidacy. That's when we're actually going to swear you in once we have all the other forms. And yeah, so you'll just do your oath of office, and then obviously the election will determine if you end up serving on the board. Yeah, and then we just just had like an extra slide on the statement of qualifications forms, but again, it's that 200 words or less. All proper nouns count as one word, something that people might not know. And so, like the name of your school district, like your Rincon Valley Unified School District, that counts as one word. So we do have some people who try to, really game the limit where they're just using all these proper nouns, and it looks like it's like 300 words, but we sit there and we count every word and make sure that it's 200. So you're welcome to do whatever you think makes your statement the best, and still meeting that requirement. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple for schools because, as I said, no filing fee, no signatures, just show up. We'll help you fill out the forms, and fundraising is going to be the most difficult part if you decide to go that direction.
Right. Thank you so much. All right, we are going to take a 5-minute break really quick because I can see we need to stretch and walk around, get some water, get a snack, go to the bathroom, but also think through if there's any questions that you want to ask anyone on the panel when we return, and that'll give us about 20 minutes for us to do some open Q&A when we get back. All right, so we'll see you back here in 5 minutes. All right, so I know that most of us can hear fine, but let's make sure we're using a microphone so we can capture everything for interpretation. Does anyone want to start us off? A burning question to get this session going? Go for it.
I have 2 questions. It was around the gentleman on the right-hand side here, Will and Troy. How would you know, and then I'll actually ask the board, so how do you know how many are running in your race? How do you know if the incumbents are running? And then if I'm running a campaign, how do you mentioned getting your voter information, what are the tools to learn how to do that? How do I go about that?
So the thing about it is you don't actually know who's running until the nomination period, including the incumbents, unless word of mouth, they're just telling people they're going to run, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really mean much. Until they file nomination forms during that nomination period, you don't really know. And sometimes, and actually a lot of the time, people do it on the last day. So, we just had that county supervisor race for this June election, and one of our board of supervisors, I think he released a press release at the end of the nomination period on the last day. It was kind of known he wasn't going to run again, but you never know until that nomination period actually closes. But that's the good thing. Will mentioned it a little bit earlier about the extension period, is that if an incumbent doesn't run, it doesn't, say there's 3 people running for a school board, and 2 people come in, or even 3 people come in, but it's 2 incumbents and then 1 general person of the public, that is still going to get extended because 1 incumbent didn't file. So as long as 1 incumbent or more does not file, that will get extended for until it's 5 days. So that'd be August 12th in this case. What was the second part of your question?
It was more toward. Yeah, sorry.
Shift into the finding the panelists. It was more towards how do you get the information to do outreach, like text or email, or are there tools available for you?
You're going to go to Troy down there and you're going to say, I want to buy a list of all the voters in my area, whatever your area is. And they like you to do it, give them a little bit of time. So don't think you're going to stand there and they're going to produce it, because it takes a little bit of extra work. But it can be very, very helpful to have that. I just helped a friend of mine run a campaign 2 years ago, and she got that, and then she put a big map up in her house, and she put pins where every place she visited, and then I took a group of people, and me and my sister walked, and we either talked to people or handed out flyers, and so she was able to, put pins there. And then when we all said and done, in the end, there was a lot of people still that hadn't been reached, so we did texting, and we all just got pages and pages, and we just texted the same message. And then with those that we didn't have numbers for, we then sent mailings. So it's really, I think it's worth whatever that cost. I don't know what it costs, but it was worth that cost.
I was just gonna say too, we do keep a physical binder on our front counter that if someone qualifies, we write in who they are. So if you're ever around here for some reason, you can come in our office and see who's qualified and what date they qualified. So you can track essentially who's filed for that office. Always call us too.
I was gonna
check
say,
that out.
you just have to call them, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's on our website as well. Generally, we update it at the end of every day. So the website's a good resource for that as well.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
How has declining enrollment affected your ability to give like programs and services that you use to your current students? And how has it made your job harder and more animosity?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Declining enrollment is huge. This year, we just had to lay off 9 teachers. That's how it affects it. And you think about how many kids are in 9 teachers in a high school's group, that tells you how many kids we've lost. Granted, we were giving consideration having smaller class sizes, but our budget got to the point where we could no longer keep 21 kids in a class. We had to increase it to 28, and that made it so we had to lay off some teachers. A lot of times it's not a full-time teacher, it's just pieces of teachers. And yeah, it does make your job harder because you upset the apple cart. You get teachers that are upset because they're losing sections or they're losing their job altogether. Then you get families who come to board meetings and say, but we want that program, how can you do that to us? Those are a lot of those emails because then they send emails, and then those are a lot of those emails I had to send. So it really has affected us terrifically. We in West County, we get 1/3 of our kids come from the far West County, the Russian River area, 1/3 come from what is the Sebastopol zip code 95472, and then the other 1/3 come from inter-district transfers. And when Santa Rosa stopped allowing inter-district transfers, it has really, really, really affected us. It's one of the reasons we had to lay off so many teachers, because the kids weren't able to come that wanted to come. So that's been a real problem, and I'm sorry, Peter, but those have been a lot of the appeals that he's been having to listen to. All right, any other questions?
Thank you all for being here, and the whole event's lovely. I love the pretzels. To you, Peter. So does money come in? I mean, we don't need details, but money comes into your office and then it's distributed to Sonoma County schools. Does direct money? I'm assuming it goes Fed, state to you, and then the schools. Not you personally.
No. I'm not the best person to answer that question. Maybe the county superintendent can respond to that.
Yeah, there's a very direct ADA that comes from the state of California directly to districts, and that's all based off of enrollment. So it's not that it's a Sonoma County office pass through. One of the misunderstandings about county office, in particular my role and Dr. Harrington's role, is that we're the boss of schools. Sonoma County superintendent is not the boss of all of the schools. The authority resides in the local elected governing board, and the county office does not overstep that role. So it's a direct paid funding through the state based on ADA and your enrollment numbers.
Can I,
Yep.
let me expand.
But I will tell you that the County Office of Education is very prominent in our budgets. They make sure that we can actually do what we say we're going to do. Like if we give a teacher raise, it has to be approved through AB 1200, through SCO has to say, we believe you. And so that you can then do what you wanted to do. So they are very involved in your budgets, most definitely. The money doesn't come from them, but they help with the checks and balances to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing financially.
The county office, like you said, we want to make sure that you're going to be solvent with whatever you do 3 years out. So if you give raises or whatever, then what are you going to look like 3 years from now?
Hi, this is kind of a general question that I might need to speak through as I ask it. Can any of you speak to who you
listen to maybe most as you're weighing considerations, whether it's students, constituents, or your fellow board members, and how making decisions, however significant or seemingly insignificant. Well, yeah, talk me through that process.
I can certainly help answer that.
In my mind, schools, if you look at school as a business, because I think it is a business. Some people say it's not a business. It's a business. It really is. It might be a nonprofit kind of like business, but it's still a business. And who are our customer? Customers are our children, our students. Does that include a parent? It does. But I feel we have to be student-centered. We actually have and it sits on my desk at a board meeting, and it is our list of what we make certain that we are doing and answering with every single thing we do. Is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this? The number one thing is it what's best for kids? So that's my answer.
Good question.
So what that means is you're not really listening to a particular person or constituent group. You're really doing your own soul searching about what you think to be in the best interest of your students. And that means weighing many different points of view and making a decision. All those different points of view, oftentimes they have a position. And your job is to be the judge, to weigh all that data and run it through your own head and your own heart and make the decision you think is right.
And it can be very hard when you have people sitting out there coming at you.
Because you're not gonna make
Everybody
happy all the time.
Most of the time. Yeah, there you go.
This is not a direct question, but it will help answer something that Jeannie had to deal with. You asked where the money comes from. Money comes, they have to account for the money. You have to account to it through the county office. And they have to show their solvency for the year they're in and the 2 succeeding years. And if they can't do that, then the county superintendent has to advise them that they need to make certain cuts, but we don't tell them which cuts to make. And that's the dilemma that the local board has to deal with. And I commend the board in West County for having to deal with closing a high school, because the cost exceeded their operating budget. And they knew, and they had been advised, most of the districts had been advised over the years, Santa Rosa being one of them, that you're spending more than you're bringing in, and you cannot put it into personnel. It's an ongoing cost. So you have a problem, and you're going to run out of money. That's the county superintendent's responsibility through her business department to monitor that, because the state trusts the elected official handles the funds from the state of California. And that sort of gets to your question, but it also gets to her question is, what's the most challenging thing? You listen to a variety of people, but you have to make the decision so that you're solvent.
I listen to my CBO a lot, my chief business official.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I have a couple of questions, hopefully just short ones. What is the difference between a trustee and a board member? Is it just different cities?
Same thing.
Old terminology and new terminology.
Yeah.
Is there a way to like give me a guesstimate, a range on the cost for that statement? I love that I learned something new tonight. I did not know that those candidate statements in the voter guide cost money, and I've always wondered why everyone doesn't do them. Maybe that's
Last time I did it, it was about $1,200. And
Yeah.
if nobody runs against you, the check is not cashed.
So it is highly dependent on how many
It just
registered
depends
voters.
on how many people.
Yeah, and it also depends on how many people file a statement in that same contest. Because if more than one person files a statement in that contest, you're effectively going to pay about half the cost because you're sharing the cost of printing.
Oh, okay.
But we should have the estimates out sometime next week probably. So you could give us a call and we can give you a better idea.
The district that you're gonna run in, somebody in the district office will know that.
Okay. And then a little bit back to knowing who else is running. So I'm personally not interested in like a big campaign against another person. So I'm wondering if I filed during the nomination period, but then 6 other people put in their names in my same district, could I just not run? Could I withdraw?
Yes, as long as it's before the close of the nomination period. So if the nomination period closes, you'll be on the ballot. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to campaign or let people know you're doing it, but your name will be on there if the nomination period closes.
Okay.
You could look at the governor's race. When Betty Yee dropped out, she still was on the ballot because it was after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yo tengo una pregunta como persona hispanohablante.
I do have a question as a Spanish-speaking person.
Pero estoy muy interesada en ser parte de las mesas directivas porque sé que impacta mucho de las decisiones a la comunidad como la que yo estoy.
But I am very interested in becoming a board member because I know it does impact a community, the community that I belong.
Mi pregunta es cómo funcionan las mesas en cuestiones de interpretación para personas como yo que están interesadas.
So my question would be, how would the board work with a person in my case? Like, how would it work with interpretation? What would be the logistics?
You know, I would just say off the top of my head, that you would be provided with an interpreter. That when we hear appeals, we have Spanish-speaking parents, and we provide an interpreter for the parents to communicate with the board directly and back and forth. So I assume that would be the same, that the district would provide you with an interpreter.
This has happened before.
Yes.
In my, well, I don't forget how many years, but anyway, it has happened before. We've had a blind board member, and we had a deaf board member, and we had a Spanish-speaking board member, all of whom have been provided by at district cost an interpreter for the meeting. Now, the situation is this: you do not get to pick the interpreter. The district picks the interpreter. The district picks the Brailer, if it's Braille, and provides that to you. And the reason for that is information has to be kept confidential, so you can't pick your neighbor who can translate for you.
Or your child.
Those type of things. So the district has to make secure those individuals. But we've done it before. Catania Royal Park had to do it. Roseland's had to do it. So we've done it periodically. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I was wondering if you work for the school district that you want to run to be a board member for, is that allowed or no?
No.
Okay, so if you wanted to run, then would you need to give up your position first and then you can run?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, you don't have to do your position first. Just the day that you get signed in,
After.
you get terminated.
You get elected.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there also is some question about whether like a local bylaw can override state and federal laws regarding workers' rights. So, want to fight that battle?
I don't know if I want to fight that.
All right. We have time for one, maybe 2 more questions. So I'm going to come over here. So if you worked for a different
That's okay.
district?
That's okay.
Okay. And are we talking about, like, Petaluma has maybe 5 different districts?
Yeah.
So you could work in a school that wasn't in your district, or you would need to work in a different city?
So Petaluma has 5 different board members, 5 different trustee areas. You cannot work for the school district.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where in Petaluma what school you work at or where you live, would be a tremendous conflict of interest.
Can a family member work for the district?
I was gonna ask family member.
Yeah.
All right.
I think someone else has a question real quick.
Okay.
That hasn't asked, go ahead.
This is a question for the board members. How often do you find yourself also connecting with the district office employees, like the educational services or other parts of the district office besides the superintendent?
Our superintendent is the educational services. A lot, yeah. We're a small district.
I think it really depends on the size of the district and how the superintendent works. Some school districts, the superintendent likes to be the only person, and other school districts, the superintendent is more open to connecting with the business manager or the HR manager. It really depends. So I don't think there's any established one way.
I would say that in our district, like I said, it's smaller, so our superintendent is educational services, but he encourages board members to spend time with our CEO and learn about the budget, ask questions about the budget, because he's the expert. Superintendent's not the expert about that, so he encourages us to do that. Not all superintendents do that, as Jeff said. Some like, no, come through me. But ours isn't that way anyway, and it hasn't been like forever. So I encourage you, if you want to know something, ask the superintendent. Let the superintendent know you're going to do that, but then you, but do that, because I think it's really important, because you're going to get some better answers talking to the person who's in charge.
Let me just add one thing. Just remember, as a trustee, you only hire one person.
Yes.
And that person is key. At your relationship, but basically you can think of it as an hourglass. You got the community, and you got the schools, the little hourglass in the middle, that's the superintendent. So where board members get in trouble is when they start circumventing that process and they're having individual conversations with the business manager and the special ed director without going through the superintendent. That's really a problem.
Definitely let the superintendent know. It's a gift in my.
All right. As we are closing up, we've got 2 more, 3 more. Things are popping up. So let's do this. Let's do a couple of just closing to say thank you, everyone. If there's a few of you who want to stay and ask a couple more questions, we can certainly stick around and do the best we can to answer all of those questions. But more than anything, we just want to make sure that you all left here with a good overview of what it might be to be the experience may be like as a board member here in Sonoma County. We just appreciate that you're here, that you're open to this idea, that you're considering serving your communities in this way. And again, have a wonderful night, and please stick around for a couple of minutes if there's any other questions you'd like for us to answer. Okay, we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to come up, I mean, I'm available. If somebody wants to just come up and ask a question, come up and ask. And that's